Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a profile on Buster Blader and Bystials with Thrust existing as a card. The ability to search Prologue with Thrust if you get hand trapped on something is really crazy, and the Buster Blader lock is something that I think slips under the radar a lot in even just modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, it's still just as crazy as always. So I'll go through the list now. Like, I've tried to kind of base it on like the bestial control type lists. There's probably a more ideal way to build this. So for example, just starting off with the 3 Whelp, this might not even be the best like normal summon to play. You could probably not play this at all. I'm not playing Safer and like the baby Chaos Dragons, only because I'm just starting purely with Whelp, because it's very easy to, like with Whelp and 1 Bystial, to just go for Seal, Regained or Beast, and then have the Buster lock set up as well. Playing the Dragon Buster, 1 Extender allows you to go into the Buster Blader link and send this to the graveyard so that you can lock the extra deck with this as well, which is really nice. We're playing 2 Bladers just because if you draw 1 or draw it, it's really, really unfortunate. Obviously the 3 Prologue, and we're playing just the 1 Memories. So this Buster Blader lineup is probably quite heavy. I think there's a world where you could easily, like I said, cut the Whelp and the Destruction Sword even and just play the 6 cards here. There's a world where you could certainly do that, because with Thrust as well, Thrust and Prologue, that's already a bunch of copies. I know you are relying on your opponent to hand trap you, but I mean, at the moment, obviously everyone's playing hand traps, so it does kind of work out. You could even be even more just slim and play much more of just a standard Dragon Link deck and cut it right down to the real bare bones of just like a 3-card engine in Blader with the 3 Thrusts, and that could still be a decent idea. Because you've still got Prologue to set off of Thrust, and then obviously these are the 2 like the bricks in the deck, but being able to just pull off the full Buster lock with that if you get hand trapped and then still do traditional Dragon Link things, that's pretty crazy. But like I said, I'm playing this more of like a bestial control type thing, so I'm playing the heavier Blader lineup because we are playing a much slower game, like the Seals Pass type thing. And obviously the Bystials is what really helps with that. So we're kind of going all in on the Bystials here as well. So with the Lubellions, the Saranirs, Magnemite, and Druis Worm. The 40th card, I've just thrown in Chaos Base. This could be Boldrake. I don't mind Boldrake, except that Chaos Base is just an additional starter to grab Lubellion. It's not a starter, obviously, because we're not playing like the baby Chaos Dragons. You could easily throw them in there. I mean, the list is currently 40 cards. I'm not the biggest fan of 40 cards for Buster Blader, only because you're playing so many Blader cards that you don't really want to see. So you could easily just throw the baby Chaos Dragons in this with the 1 Chaos Space and call it a day and be fine with that. The other kind of engine alongside the dragons that I'm kind of going all in on is Black Metal Dragon with 1 for 1. And actually 2 Red MD, just for this just creates crazy follow-up, because if you do the standard Black Metal Red MD, you search this in your hand and you have it for the next turn, which again, I mean, you've already got the Bystials doing like kind of nice recursion, but having the second Red MD is kind of nice. Again, it's a much slower deck. So, and Black Metal is one that kind of plays the best around like hand traps as such. So that's what I've gone for this. But again, like there's heaps of room to kind of tweak the list here. I mean, you could certainly cut this down to, you know, something more traditional. Again, you've freed up 3 more spots alongside like Blader spots. You could play the baby Chaos Dragons if you wanted to keep it close to 40. But this kind of deck doesn't mind being over 40 anyway. I mean, my current list is 40, but you could easily go to 42 with the baby Chaos Dragons and be fine. We have 13 additional non-engine spots. So I've gone for Ash, Super Poly, the Thrust, of course, because that was kind of the main thing I was like looking for with this deck. Is I've just been doing a little bit of kind of, I guess, research about like what can Thrust set going first. That's just crazy. Prologue being really crazy. 1 talent and then 3 imperm, just so like Thrust can do something going second as well. So you've got like decent things. Super Poly obviously is just a crazy card. The only other thing that this deck could use is Pot of Prosperity, which I realize is not in the list, but okay. Prosperity is certainly a card that we can facilitate because we're not really relying on like the Chaos Space, the Baby Dragons. Like we do have Regained and we do have both of them in the deck, but Prosperity does a pretty efficient job in this type of deck as well, especially because we are playing the Super Poly targets, which are just like things that you can banish off Prosperity as well. Extra deck wise, we're playing 1 Buster Dragon and 1 Blade of Fusion. Again, we're playing a heavier lineup, so you could certainly play more copies of either of those. We're playing the 3 Super Poly targets. Obviously, like Guilty Gear Freed is for like SP and Baron, and then we've got the Garura and the Mud Dragon. We have Typhon. Again, we're playing like a slower deck, so that's fine. And then we're just playing a bunch of generic links that can just help close out the game, mainly going second, because going first we do have, you know, obviously like the Prologue lock is just already crazy. So like SP, IP, Dark, Erratic Seal, the Blader Link, and then obviously Striker Dragon and playing Pisty as well. Again, just it's a going like throwback to that Bystial control type list from a few formats ago. But that is the main and extra deck. I'll go into some test hands just to kind of show what the deck is aiming to achieve. All right, so getting ready for our first test hand. Obviously, we are looking for a combination of non-engine and engine. This is kind of a 2-card combo deck. We're wanting to see the starter, access to Prologue, as well as typically like a Bystial to kind of go from there as well. So we've got Thrust, Saronir, Beast, the Chaos Space, and the Libellion. So again, this type of hand is really cool. Obviously, we like the theory of the deck with the Thrust into Prologue. You're not going to be able to see it with this hand specifically, but I mean, like in a hypothetical world, like if you were to like lead Chaos Space, pitch Saronir, and it was to get ashed, obviously we're going to get the Saronir dump, which we could just put a Bystial into the graveyard. I've already got Libellion in hand, but we could put a second Libellion in there if we're fearing a Bystial, or could put a Druid in there just as something to bring back off the Regained. We could even put the Regained in the graveyard as well, just to, I guess, get around a hand trap on Libellion. But like if that was to get ashed, for example, obviously we do now have Thrust into the Prologue, which is nice, but we'll continue with the test hand here. So we've got ashed. Libellion will grab Magnemite. I mean, I think if you're opening that 1 of Chaos Space, there's a decent shot that gets ashed. So yep, Libellion for Magnemite should be in hand, not in the grave. And now we can summon the Magnemite by banishing the Libellion, I guess. Doesn't really matter all that much. We're going to declare the Magnemite, and we can swap it out for Libellion, and we'll use its effect to place Regained. Again, we've got the Chaos Space. We can banish it to put back the Libellion and draw. Okay, so in that case, banishing the Libellion was certainly correct. We drew into the black metal. I was going to say, even if we didn't draw black metal, we could easily just go Thrust into Prologue and pass. I obviously haven't established Seal, which is the next best thing that we want to do, which I mean, we now can do it. So we'll normal the black metal. We will link it away. We can go into Pisty. Black metal is going to trigger to grab the red MD. And then here, because we will end up with that 1 extra extender, so we could go banish the Pisty for red MD, and then red MD bring back the black metal. Because we've got 3 bodies here, this is where we can do the full kind of Buster Lock play. So we can go black metal and the red MD, and we can make Protector Whelp. We can chain block it because we've got the black metal and the Protector Whelp. So we'll get the red MD to hand, and we will send the extra deck lock to the graveyard, and then we can go straight up into Seal with those 2. So again, it's the classic Seals pass. And from there, we obviously are going to activate the Thrust, Our opponent does not have a monster because they just ashed us. We're going to set the Prologue. And we're going to set the Beast. And then in the end phase, we'll also get the Druid Swarm. So of course this is pretty decent board. Obviously regained Beast. I've got the Bystial kind of line going. We have the Druid with the Beast as a pretty decent kind of combo. The Red MD makes decent follow-up as well. The Prologue's going to lock our opponent out of more or less everything, and Seal can summon out follow-up. Now the only other thing we could do with the list as well is certainly play even just one Saphert. And again, if we wanted to tweak the Blader ratios, we could play more Saphert and like the Chaos Baby Chaos Dragons. But right now, because obviously we've accessed the Magnemite already, there's only so many things the Seal can tag out into. And I guess a Saphert could be a pretty decent thing to have if you're going to Seal tag out into Saphert, because you could add back Libellion at that point as well. So there's definitely like adjustments you could make to the list, but I mean this first test hand was a pretty decent showing of what the deck is aiming to do. The other nice thing with Regained already on the field, I know we have the Druid Worm to trigger the Regained, but we also have the Prologue, and like the Prologue banishes. So when you do banish for the, not the Prologue that banishes, but the memories in the deck. So if you haven't seen the Prologue stuff, you would obviously activate the Prologue. It sends for cost from deck a Buster Blader. So there's a Buster Blader and memories. So it's a Destruction Sword card as cost. This is going to be performing the special summoning of the Buster Dragon, but we can also chain the memories and then banish the Blader and a Dragon. So depending on what we banish here, it doesn't really matter all that much, because we can recur it with Regained is what the point is. So, we could put back a Red MD as another search for Black Metal if we wanted to recur another one. But whatever we do banish, when that resolves, what will happen is the Fusion will be summoned first, the Buster Dragon will be summoned second, and Regained can activate on the new chain. And the Buster Dragon also activates, it's just as a quick effect. So, I mean, you could certainly just chain the Buster Dragon to the Regained to get the extra deck lock as well. The Red MD will get put to the bottom of the deck and we will draw a card per the Regained, and we continue to play from here. So like now the opponent is just completely locked out of the extra deck. Seal is still going to bounce, Beast is still going to pop, Regained is still going to bring back a Bystial, and then we've got the follow-up in hand as well with what we've drawn there. So again, first test hand showing just kind of exactly what the deck is trying to do. It's, as far as like what the deck is trying to do, I mean, that again, like I said, that was pretty perfect showing, but it's kind of the main thing the deck does. It's predominantly just aiming to get to Seal's Pass, and then just, if we have access to the Bystials, that's really nice as well. If you have access to the Blader stuff, that's really nice as well. Like I said, definitely tweaks you could make to the list. Not perfect by any means, but yeah, what I was trying to highlight though is mainly just the thrust into Prologue, because it's just a crazy interaction. Imperm, Libellion, Saranir, and Libellion. So not the greatest of hands, but yeah, not the greatest of hands at all. We're just going to be Libellion for a Magnemite, and going from there, there'd be maybe a Tribute Summon in there, but nothing too crazy. We'll just speed run a couple more hands. And that's where something like Prosperity could be a really nice addition as well. It's like another thing that you could add. So Black Metal, Dragon Buster, Red MD, Imperm, and Beast. So again, this is going to be just a Seal's Pass type situation with what we have here. The other thing we could do with a hand like this is to just, the extra deck lock can't even get into rotation now. We've got it, but we don't have access to Prologue or Thrust. So we are just going for Seal's Pass with that hand. Branded Beast is nice because we can obviously just tribute off the Bystial we summon off Seals, which will most likely be the Magnemite. Ash, Red MD, Ash, Regained, and Magnemite. Not a great hand. Yeah, so a few bad hands in a row. I guess that is going to happen when you're playing a lot of Bystials and things like that, but you know, I haven't had this many bad hands in a while, probably just because it's on camera, but the deck has not really had too many issues with consistency, but it is what it is. We've got Thrust, we've got Infirm, we have Sarony, Thrust, and Talons. Oh my goodness, this is a very poor showing. So again, just looking at this, Prosperity could certainly go into the deck. It's not really going to affect the, like obviously it's going to clash with like Regained and Chaos Space, but the consistency is just far more important. So we'll do another one. Whelp is a good start. And the Thrust there. So I mean, we're always accessing Prologue there, so even if they kind of stop the Whelp, unless it's Imperm of course, but we are getting to Prologue at the very least there. But no, if you're just going to take away what we're seeing in the test hands here, then certainly go and add Prosperity to the list, and you can tweak some of the ratios for Prosperity. Definitely would be a good thing to do. So Black Metal is going to give us the classic Seals pass. Thrust is able to get us to the Prologue if we do get interrupted at any kind of point there. But yeah, we'll do one more test hand. And we shall call it a day. So we've got Black Metal and Memories, again, Super Poly, Red MD, and the Infirm. So again, it's a Seals pass. That first test hand, great. Prosperity, great card as well. So if you're looking to tweak, I mean, certainly you could start off by taking out like the second Red MD, you could take out, maybe not Black Metal because we like the consistency, but even like the Chaos Space, or you could even trim down like the Blader engine or even some of the non-engine as well. But yeah, I think Prosperity certainly would be a very welcome card in the list as well. But otherwise, the main point I was kind of just trying to highlight is that, yeah, Thrust into Prologue is a really cool interaction. I think it works best when you are playing a more like hardcore Dragon Link deck, because that's going to be more likely to get hand trapped. I mean, if you're just doing Black Metal Dragon to Seals Pass, the chance of you getting hand trapped on that is, I guess, lower because your opponent is expecting more of the high impact dragon stuff to then want to be able to stop that, like your like Romulus and things like that. So then by the time you go to Seal and try to end phase, they probably haven't had a chance to hand trap you, which is a consideration to make as well. But yeah, just like the ability to go Thrust into Prologue was the whole kind of point behind making the deck in the first place. Just because I think it's a really crazy interaction. Yeah, and something that I wanted to kind of try out. But otherwise, that's going to be it for the deck profile, and I'll catch you in the next one.